Now, on Friday, Jack, you weren't here, you were out, but on Game Time, we talked to Jerry Hamilton, the national recruiting analyst for On Texas Football and the On Texas Football channel. Well, and he told us he was en route to Fort Lauderdale because he wanted to be on hand for the announcement from the 4-star and in some recruiting rankings, 5-star running back Derrek Cooper. And what the commitment was going to be. It was going to be at his high school, as Jerry told you, Chaminade Madonna High School. What a great name. The alma mater of one Jeremiah Smith of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Heard of him.
Pretty talented high school, safe to say. And Derrek Cooper is one of the best players there. He plays running back. He plays linebacker, safety. He just does whatever they need. But he's going to be a running back at the next level. And Jerry was on hand for it. And let's see if we can hear Derrek Cooper. He made his declaration about 7 o'clock last night. Everybody gathered at his high school, and he made it official. Well, Jerry was on hand, and so he makes it official. He picks Texas, and the Longhorns are going to be his choice. And what does that mean for the Longhorns? I'll have the audio for you because I got to call it up. But he's 6'1", he's 210 pounds. He's a workhorse in the backfield. He said combines downhill power, home run speed, and all-around athleticism. He is the first and only running back in the Longhorns class of 2025. He's the 21st player in the class. Jerry, who we talked to Friday, has seen him play 6 or 7 times and says he is not just a running back. He's a really good football player. Can do whatever they need him to do, both sides of the ball. He said he never really has carried the ball more than 20 times because he's playing defense, playing offense, but he's a home run hitter at 6'1" and 210 and can grow into his body. But the Cooper commitment capped a tremendous week for the Longhorns on the trail. Last Tuesday, while we were in Atlanta for media days in the SEC, they of course, on the Pat McAfee show, the number one linebacker in the nation from Loganville, Georgia, picked Texas. We covered that closely. And then on that same day, one of the top defensive linemen from the city of Miami as well, James Johnson, J.J. Johnson, flipped his commitment from Georgia to Texas. And now a much-needed running back, because Derrek Cooper, they hadn't had a back committed in this class. And so they get 3 big commitments, 1 from Georgia, 2 from Miami. So we know Sark is not afraid to go anywhere to find the best players in the country. That is his, that's what this staff does. Loganville, Georgia, and 2 from South Florida. There you go, Jack. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Florida and Georgia, 2 of the premier, in terms of high school talent states that you can ask for. And going in the backyard of your, at this point, number 1 competitor in the SEC in Georgia and taking those guys is super impressive. I think pretty much all of the Florida schools are kind of down right now, so you can kind of jump in and
well, that's true,
have your
right?
way there.
Miami is. I have a story coming up for you before you do in other news that it borders on. There's been NIL stories, and then there's this. There's been NIL. New World Order college football conversations, and then I've got this. And on a good, bad, and ugly Monday, you can decide what category it falls into.
Are you telling me that Miami is having shady dealings with paying players?
You can decide if it's shady or not, because it has nothing to do with a football player. Well, actually, it does. It's tangentially applies to a football player. But let's actually hear a football player, Derrek Cooper, with his announcement.
The man above, because without him, I wouldn't, be here. I thank my family, my friends, my coaching staff, my mentors. Just without them people, I don't know where I would be at in life. I'd like to thank the 5 schools. These schools are really good, great schools, and I feel like any choice couldn't go wrong. But, with that being said, I'll be, for the next 3-4 years, I'll be committed to.
So now he's taking his 1 shirt off to reveal the shirt under him, so kind of like a Superman, Clark Kent kind of deal.
The University of Texas. The
Longhorns. So Longhorns get Derrek Cooper, capping off a great week. And the 3 commitments on top of the previous 18 has put Texas into the top 5 in the Rivals industry recruiting rankings. Longhorns are now number 4 in those rankings for 2026. 1 spot ahead of Texas A&M. They had been behind the Aggies. They leapfrogged Texas A&M with that, and they trail only USC. The Trojans and Lincoln Riley have 31 commitments. One of the reasons they're up there so high. And then Georgia and Notre Dame at 2 and 3 right now. Derrek Cooper is the 7th top 100 national prospect to commit to Texas. He joins the quarterback. And think about the foundational positions of football. And we know what Sark and his GM, Brandon Harris, are, if you're building a team, you want a quarterback, you need a left tackle, you need, pass rush, you need, and so here you go. Longhorns have 7 top 100 prospects, so the best among the best players at their position, or if not the best. And quarterback Diabell, the linebacker Tyler Atkinson, who's the number 1 linebacker in the country, 200 tackles as a junior. in a state championship in Loganville, Georgia. The elite edge rusher Richard Wesley, Jack's 5-star. James Johnson on the D-line, we just mentioned him. North Crowley, state champions in 6A football in Texas. He is the left tackle, John Turntine. And then the elite athlete from East Texas, Willis, Texas, Jermaine Bishop. Those are the 7 top-rated players in this class of 21. Steve Sarkisian, we mentioned, was down in San Antonio this weekend with 18,000 or so coaches from around the state of Texas is the annual Texas High School Coaches Convention in the Alamo City. And during a roundtable conversation they do every year with the 13 Division I college football coaches, Coach Sark was talking about how the importance of his general manager. That's Brandon Harris, the young GM who runs the behind-the-scenes operations. Here's Sark on all things GM and the New World Order.
Brandon Harris is our general manager. And I think everybody operates a little bit differently of what that looks like from a general manager standpoint. But in this day and age of revenue sharing, NIL, publicity rights, whatever you want to call it, you have a cap that you're trying to operate within. And how do you manage that cap? And that cap pertains to really 3 layers to your team, right? There's a recruitment cap, right? And call it like it is. Players are getting paid to go to school. And so how much do you allocate to that area in your cap? And then, how do you divvy up that money that you allocate in that cap per position, per player? Then there's your current roster of what you're paying players within your roster. And then there's retention of your roster and what you're going to do with the players that are on your roster moving forward. And so, sure, would I love to spend a bunch of time doing that? Not really. I like being a football coach, right? I like coaches X's and O's. I like motivating players. I like, looking at how we're going to try to win the game week in and week out. I like evaluating players for the recruiting process. And so it's a little bit of a thankless job, and Brandon does a tremendous job for us in doing that. Clearly, we work collaboratively on those things, and so that we're on the same page. But that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of managing those things to work within a cap. Because somewhere down the road, I don't know if it's tomorrow, next week, next year, somebody's going to get punished for going over the cap. And I surely don't want to be the school that gets punished for doing that, because I like coaching. And I like the salary that University of Texas pays me to coach. Let's be frank. Okay, so if I don't want to be suspended for 6 games and then lose that money, and then I got to go home to Miss L'Oreal and she tells me, why didn't your paycheck come in this week? So we have allocated somebody to do that. And I think it's really important, just no different than how the NFL allocates people to manage their cap and have a general manager to do those things. And Brandon's got a great team that works for him, and I'm sure everybody up here in some way, shape, or form has something very similar as it pertains to general manager roles.
All right, so there's a little glimpse with Steve Sarkisian behind the curtain of Texas Football Incorporated, but they're all incorporations now. That's what's going on in college football. The New World Order, as we call it, the House settlement is now 21 days in place. And yes, it's what it is. It's professional college football. And Brandon Harris, former LSU quarterback, is the Longhorns general manager and allocating salary. And that's, if we go back to when I was on vacation, Jack, but I know you guys were hearing the texts and the boo birds about why are they missing out on all these top players? And, Texas Tech swoops in and gets the big tackle. A&M got the big running back. And when you watch it, when you look at the big picture recruiting board for a program, and certainly Texas, it's just like an NFL draft board. And you have your rankings, and you got to let it play out. You got to let the puzzle pieces be played. And the Longhorns were going to allocate. They were not going to allocate the money to Felix Ojo that Texas Tech did. They weren't paying that, because they had gone after John Turntine. They knew they needed to. Tyler Atkinson was somebody they were recruiting heavily, and there was going to be money involved there. Derrek Cooper in Miami. They had their priorities, and it just so happened that those players committed later than they come down at different times in June and July. And now here we are approaching late July, and the Longhorns are now as a top 4 class.
Yeah, and you can look at it just like what we're dealing with in the NFL this season. It's like the Texans trade back to take a guy that they were going to take in the first round.
Right.
They sign him to a guaranteed deal, and that kind of muddies the waters for everybody else. You have these guys at the top of your board that you're looking to pay, and now they commit to one place, and especially if you're Georgia. I mean, it's objectively, Texas had a rough couple of weeks ago, and now Texas is having that strong stretch.
Well, and Sark wasn't speaking publicly at the time, but it was like, hey, let's wait till because they were focused on Tyler Atkinson Derrek Cooper. I mean, they were in on KJ Edwards, the running back from East Texas, but A&M outspent them for him. I mean, quite honestly, especially when they were in with this Derrek Cooper conversation, and those things can change, but at the same time, wait till the class comes in early December, and you can judge what the class is. But we understand how fans get fired up when things don't go their way, but the Longhorns are doing just fine. Also, back on Friday afternoon, to put a bow on SEC Media Days, the conference, after our show ended on Friday, released the results of the All-SEC preseason teams and players for 2025. And we'll go into this deeper when we get Noah into the 7 o'clock hour, Jack. But here's the overview of the more than 1,200 assembled media that were in Atlanta with yours truly last week to cover that event. We all had a ballot. If you missed it, Jack, we got to go through the ballot right here on the air. We had fun with it, picking quarterbacks. You had to pick 3 quarterbacks and 6 running backs and 6 receivers and all the way through. And in that poll, here's how it comes. You also had to pick your predicted order of finish, and heavy favorites are the Texas Longhorns coming out of Media Days. Heavy favorites. The 2025 preseason SEC Media Poll, Longhorns picked to finish first, 96 first-place votes. That's if you take Georgia, who finished second, and Alabama third, you combine their votes, and it doesn't reach where Texas is at 96. So the media picking Texas, with Georgia, Alabama, LSU, and South Carolina in the top 5. Also, as far as the players go, Longhorns, 11 players on the All-SEC first, second, or third teams, 4 first-teamers. Props to Trey Wisner. We picked him as the first-team running back, and so did the rest of the media. Colin Simmons, the senior Michael Taff, and linebacker Anthony Hill, all selected, and also throw DJ Campbell in there. DJ Campbell. So the Longhorns, 5 first-team players on offense and defense. And DJ Campbell's the returning 5th-year guard, and then Trey Wisner. So those are your 2 offensive players: Colin Simmons, Michael Taff, and Anthony Hill. We've talked about them a lot, anchoring what could be the best defense in the country. And then on the second team, Ryan Wingo, Malik Muhammad, and the incoming punter Jack Boomeister from Utah. And then on the third team, Arch Manning, Jack Endries, the tight end, the Cal transfer through the portal, offensive lineman Trevor Gooseby, defensive lineman Trey Moore, the linebacker, and then the kicker Will Stone on the third team All-SEC. So 11 for the Longhorns. Only Alabama. Alabama had 11 on the first team, or players on all 3 teams. Georgia 7, A&M 6, Auburn and LSU with 5. So the Longhorns well represented. This is the talking season, so these are what people think are going to happen, but that's pretty good.
Yeah, that is pretty good. I want to know why Will Stone is on this.
I know.
Because,
you had to pick somebody.
Shout out Taps. We love when we get a local Taps kid into the program from Regents. Broke one of my taillights one time, actually, on an extra point. But he only does kickoffs.
I know.
And it's a touchback 90% of the time.
Well, now Mason Shipley's in to be the kicker,
of,
right?
Added value.
Yeah, Mason Shipley, the Texas State transfer, is in to make the field goals. We'll see. Hey, people just look at it. Will Stone, Texas to score a lot of points. Let's get it. We need a third team kicker.